morning, Aina. So,
Good morning, Miss.
here again, this is the worksheet of the return, okay? The story that we took last week. And you have the worksheet right in front of you. I'll start from the summary first. In this short story by Guji Wationgo, Kamau returns home upon his release from a government prison camp. He walks wearily down roads that leads to his house outside of Nairobi, waiting for a familiar sign, finding none. Women who recognize him behave in a way that shows there is something he does not know. He hurries home, eager to see his wife, whom he had been married to for only a short while before his arrest. But he does not receive the reception he expects. So here we have the entire summary of the story. What happens to Kamau, what happens to his journey back his home. And one more thing, I have sent this worksheet in the PDF form, in the Word form to Mrs. Sana, which she has forwarded you. So please check her message. You have this worksheet with you in the Word form, okay? In the Word format. Next is the insight.
Where, Miss?
I sent this sheet in the Word format to Mrs. Sana to send to you, okay, to forward you. So please check her message after this. Okay, you got it? Ayla?
Yeah.
Okay. So Kamau,
Okay. Yes.
So Kamau learns an important lesson about how upsetting change can be at first. He expects his life to be just as he has to realize how his actions have affected others and brought about change he was not expecting. So in this particular story, there is a kind of irony that we find at the end of the story. The plot devices. Okay, so first of all, there's foreshadowing. Authors use plot devices to enhance their storytelling. Foreshadowing is a device in which, now there are two ways, there are two plot devices that authors use to enhance. Number one is foreshadowing, and number two is situational irony. So in foreshadowing, it is a device in which the author offers clues about something that will happen later in the story. Irony is a tool that reveals a difference between what is expected and what actually occurs, what happens to be true and what is actually true, or what someone says and what that person actually means. But in situational irony, which we have in this story, involves something happening in the story that directly goes against the expectation of the reader. So as we started reading the story, we could foreshadow that there is going to be a happy ending as Kama is going back home after a long period of being prisoned. But instead of that, we see that he gets more sad, and he is more gloomy by the end of the story after discovering what he has lost. So there's question number one. As Kamal walks down the road in the return, why does he look straight ahead? Because he wants to avoid strangers' eyes, because he hates to see the hard, he does not wish to recall his bitter past, or he hopes to see something that he recognizes. Which one do you think, Ayla? Please choose quickly.
D.
It is exactly T. It is D. He hopes to see something that he recognizes. In the return, why does Kamau's first sighting of the Honia River excite him? Because the Honia River is still a good source of drinkable water. The river reminds him of his boyhood. The river valley is greener, or the Honia River represents the freedom of the Gikuyu people. So actually,
B.
the river reminded him of his boyhood during better times. So that's the reason. Next is in the return. Why does Kamau expect to receive a hero's welcome? He comes from a family of royal heroes? No, of course no. He won the war. He knows that he is meant to rule the village. He was always a favorite who fought for his people.
B.
No, it's D. He was always favorite who fought for his people. Okay? And that's the reason that he was present. Number 4, in the return, how does Kamal's father act at first when Kamal returns? With disgust, with joy, with pity, or with confusion?
G.
Exactly, it is D. Now let's see the next one. In the return, why does Karanja most likely tell the villagers that Kamal died in prison? He wants to warn other about Gikuyu. He wants to hurt Kamal's family. He wants Muthoni to go with him. He wants other villagers to pity him. It was actually C. He wants Muthoni to go with him, his wife, Kamal's wife. Number 6. If a farm is described as sprawling, what is the most likely true about it? Base your answer on the meaning of sprawling. It is in a valley, it is old and run down, it is no longer productive, it is spread over many acres. Remember when we took sprawling in vocabulary? It means to expand, right? So it is spread
Mm,
over many acres, means it is expanded, it is stretched, to stretch out. Next is, which of the following descriptions best illustrate the meaning of serpentine? You know what is serpentine, remember? Snake-like, anything that is snake-like. So the fox cleverly waited until the farmer had gone. We cleaned the paintbrushes before putting them away. The highway climbed in a hairpin curves up the mountain, or she notices that the walls of the cave felt clammy. So anything that curves, anything that goes in a zigzag way. So it will be C, the highway climbed in hairpin curves up the mountain. Number 8, if a neighborhood is described as compact, you remember compact means something very short that takes less space. So, what is most likely true about it? It features a central square, the people make their own rules, houses are tightly crowded together, or most beautiful buildings were recently constructed.
um, C.
Yes, exactly. Next is, what does the sentence from the return most clearly imply about the Gikuyu people? Remember that even before the Mau Mau emergency, the overtilled Gikuyu holdings were haggard looks in contrast to sprawling green fields in the settled area. They are poor, they are aging, they are in danger, or they are unsettled. It means that they are poor.
They are poor.
Poor. So it is A. Next is, now we have question and answers. Where has Kamau been for the 5 years preceding the events in the story? Where was he for 5 years? For 5 years, where was he, Ayla? Before going,
Um,
Kamau has been imprisoned by the government for the past 5 years. So he was prisoned. Okay? Next is,
mhm.
where is Kamau going as the story begins? Where is he going?
Back to his village.
Kamal is going back home to see his family in Honia, the village by the river where he grew up. You can just write these questions and answers down when you get the word form worksheet from Mrs. Sana. Okay, actually she has sent you already,
Okay.
or you can watch the video later. How does Kamal's
Mhm.
mother feel about Kamal's wife Muthoni? Kamal's mother accepts Muthoni's decision to leave. Muthoni left with Karanja because Kamal's mother didn't have enough money and food to keep her. Next, discuss the reaction to Kamal that the three women at the river have. So the reaction to Kamal that the three women at the river was, the women at the river do not greet Kamal warmly. They instead look at him coldly and hesitantly. So that's it. Okay.
Mhm.
Now we have next story, which is by the waters of Babylon. Here it is, by the waters of Babylon. It is written by Stephen Vincent Bennett, which you can see right below, and it's a short story.
Mhm.
Now the story's background is very different. Let's read the story's background, and then we will read about the author, and we will see what's coming in that story. Now, Stephen Vincent Bennett published this story in 1937, just after the devastating bombing of Guernica in Spain, in which thousands of defenseless civilians were killed. During this time, people were afraid of increasingly destructive power of modern weaponry. A few short years after this story was published, World War II would erupt, and the nuclear bomb would be invented. The title of the story is an allusion, as you can see by the waters of Babylon, okay, which was now actually Babylon was uh, an empire in the past in the area of Persia, in the area of Iraq, in the area of Levant. So, or reference to a line from Psalm 137, which is from the Bible, which describes the yearning of the which is from the Torah, which describes the yearning of the Jews for their homeland after they were exiled by the Babylonians. So when the Jews were exiled by Babylonian Empire, uh, so this actually he has made an allusion or reference to that time, like how Jews were deprived of their homeland, and he has just made a similar kind of you can say he has applied a similar idea to another setting, okay, to a different setting, uh, which is uh, what do you call it? Which is fictional. So let's start about reading about Stephen Vincent Bennett. He was born in 1898 and died in 1943, and his two siblings were clearly influenced by their father's love of literature. As they all grew up to be writers, much of Bennett's work centers on American history and folklore, including his most famous story, The Devil and Daniel Webster, and his epic poem about the Civil War, John Brown's Body. The latter work won the Pulitzer Prize in 1929. At the time of his death, Bennett was at work on a second epic poem, Western Star, which he planned to write as a narrative that would span 5 books. He finished only first volume, which posthumously won him a second Pulitzer Prize when it was published in 1944. So that was about Stephen. He was a very well-known and very like hardworking person. He had seen enough in his life. He had a great experience of life and about wars and deprivation and suffering. So here's the vocabulary. Number one is purified, which is a verb and the past tense of purify. It means cleaned or purified by removing harmful or unwanted material. So when something is purified, when you have purified something, it means you made it clean by removing harmful or unwanted materials. The number two is bathe, which is the past of bid. It also is a verb, which means to request. If you have requested for something, you have waited for it. Okay. Next is stern, which is an adjective. It means anything that is strict or severe. Stern means rigid, strict, severe. And the next is fasting, which is a verb. Fasting is intentionally not eating, often for religious reasons, like we do in Ramadan. Then we have customs, which is a noun. That means traditions. These are actions that are commonly done by a group of people, and there is summoned. Summon means it is a verb, it means to order someone or something to come to a place. So if you have summoned somebody, you have ordered that person to come to a place. And it is usually done by the court. Okay, Ayla, you're here?
Yes, yes.
Okay, fine. Just want you to be sure. Next is, let's start reading the story itself. Um, the north and the west and the south are good hunting ground. Now, this story is about a boy. The story is about a boy who is the son of a priest. So he belongs to a very religious family, and they are kind of searching for the places of gods. He learned the language of God according to his own traditions and customs. So this group of people that he belongs to is a very ethnic, very religious group who is looking for gods and looking for mm, uh, uh, spiritual things. And he then it is also about a journey that takes him from his homeland to another place where he is looking for or finding for gods or their signs. Now let's start reading. The north and the west and the south are good hunting ground, but it is forbidden to go east. It is forbidden to go to any of the dead places except to search for metal. And then who touches the metal must be priest or the son of a priest. Afterwards, both the man and the metal must be purified. These are the rules and the laws. They are well made. It is forbidden to cross the great river and look upon the place that was the place of the gods. This is the most strictly forbidden. We do not even say its name, though we know its name. It is there that spirits live and demons. It is there that there are the ashes of the great burning. These things are forbidden. They have been forbidden since the beginning of time. So here he's referring to a place where they think that where it is considered that God lives and there are dead people and the ashes and some metals like some things from the God that must be taken and purified, but only a very spiritual person can go there. And they call it the place of God. And they say that no one can go there except a very spiritual person. There are demons, and there are spirits living there. My father is a priest. Now, this here, as it's starting from we know that it's in the first person point of view. It's written in the first person point of view. My father is a priest. Now, the boy himself, is telling the story. I am the son of a priest. I have been in the dead places near us with my father. At first, I was afraid. When my father went into the house to search for the metal, I stood by the door. Now, by metal, he means some spiritual items that they consider are from God. I stood by the door, and my heart felt small and weak. It was a dead man's house, a spirit house. I did not have the smell of man, though there were old bones in the corner. But it is not fitting that a priest's son should show fear. I looked at the bones in the shadow and kept my voice still. Then my father came out with the metal, a good strong piece. He looked at me with both eyes, but I had not run away. He gave me the metal to hold. I took it and did not die. So he knew that I was truly his son. So these are their beliefs, okay? And would be a priest in my time. That was when I was very young. Nevertheless, my brothers would not have done it, though they are good hunters. After that, they gave me the good piece of meat and the warm corner by the fire. My father watched over me. He was glad that I should be a priest. But when I boasted or wept without a reason, he punished me more strictly than my brothers, and I was right. After a time, I myself was allowed to go into the dead house and search for metal. So I learned the ways of those houses, and if I saw bones, I was no longer afraid. The bones are light and cold. Sometimes they will fall into dust if you touch them. That is a great sin. I was taught the chants. You know the chants and the spell. Those are the spiritual, magical songs and words. So I was taught the chants and the spells. I was taught how to stop the running of blood from a wound and many secrets. A priest must know many secrets. That was what my father said. If the hunters, we think, do all things by chance and spell, they may believe so. It does not hurt them. I was taught how to read in the old books and how to make the old writings. That was hard and took a long time. My knowledge made me happy. It was like a fire in my heart. If you don't understand something, Ila, please do ask me. Most of all, I like to hear of the old days and the stories of the gods. I asked myself many questions that I could not answer, and it was good to ask them. At night, I would lie awake and listen to the wind. It seemed to me that it was the voice of the gods as they flew through the air. We are not ignorant like the forest people. Our women spin wool on the wheel. Our priests wear a white robe. We do not eat grapes from the tree. We have not forgotten the old writings, although they are hard to understand. Nevertheless, my knowledge and my lack of knowledge burned in me. I wished to know more. When I was a man, at last, I came to my father and said, "It is time for me to go on my journey. Give me your leave, like give me your permission." He looked at me for a long time, stroking his beard. Then he said at last, "Yes, it is time." That night in the house of the priesthood, I asked for and received purification. My body hurt, but my spirit was a cool stone. It was my father himself who questioned me about my dreams. He bade me, he requested me. Babe means requested, as we took earlier. He bade me to look into the smoke of the fire and see. I saw and told what I saw. It was what I have always seen, a river, and beyond it a great dead place, and in it the gods walking. I have always thought about that. His eyes were stern when I told him. He was no longer my father, but a priest. He said, "This is a strong dream. It is mine." I said, while the smoke waved and my head felt light. They were singing the star song in the outer chamber, and it was like the buzzing of bees in my head. He asked me how the gods were dressed, and I told him how they were dressed. We know how they were dressed from the book, but I saw them as if they were before me. So this is all about his imagination. When I had finished, he threw the sticks 3 times and studied them as they fell. "This is a very strong dream," he said. "It may eat you up." "I'm not afraid," I said, and looked at him with both eyes. My voice sounded thin in my ears, but that was because of the smoke. So, Ayla, that's it. We will read the rest of the power story later.
Mhm.
Also, I want you to reread the text later so that you can understand it well and try to figure out some of the things that you have read here, some of the foreshadowing, and whatever you can guess. Okay. So see you tomorrow.
Okay.
Thank you, dear. Take care. Bye.
Thank you, Miss.